The year is 2010, and dictators around the globe believe they are unstoppable. Known for their cruelty, most rule with an iron fist, and are responsible for countless deaths and human rights violations, all against innocent people. However, a small movement in the streets of Tunisia, along with a group of hackers named Anonymous, decide to fight back. They aim to take these dictators down so that the people may finally know peace. What happens next is nothing short of impressive. From violent protests in the streets of Egypt, to massive cyber attacks taking entire systems offline, to even the dictators fighting back, inflicting maximum damage before the full-scale collapse of their governments. This is the true story of how Fortune's Anonymous helped dismantle some of the most brutal Middle Eastern dictatorships in modern history. This is the story of 4chan versus the Middle East. December 17, 2010, Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia. A 26-year-old fruit vendor opens up shop for another day's long work. He only earns around $140 a month to support his entire family. Yet, he still finds it within his heart to give away free produce to those in need. He doesn't know it yet, but in a couple of hours, Mohamed Bouazizi will radically change the world forever. He had taken out a risky $200 loan to fund his cart for the day, so there's no room for error. He starts off well, but just 2 hours in, he's approached by the police. It wasn't uncommon for them to terrorize him, demanding bribes that he was obviously unable to pay. But this time, they go too far. They beat and publicly humiliate him, seizing his entire fruit stand. He's left on the floor, broken and hopelessly indebted, having just been stripped of his entire livelihood. He desperately visits the governor for help, and he is ignored. Enraged, he storms off and later returns with a can of gasoline in hand. He stands just outside the office in the middle of traffic and proceeds to shout out to the government. How could they expect him to live in a system that makes it impossible for him to survive? He strikes a match and lets it fall. His vision blacks out. People begin to leave their cars. A small group slowly forms as an ambulance eventually arrives to transport him to a hospital in Tunis. The people stay. Bouazizi, like many others, was outraged at his government. The president of Tunisia, Ben Ali, had been ruling for 23 long years and led an authoritarian regime that suppressed the people. He abused his power, rigging elections whenever opposition arose against him, and winning over 90% of the vote every single time. Under his administration, many lived in extreme poverty, making it nearly impossible to live a decent life. The people of Tunisia, worn down by years of this repression, are fed up with the government's greed and corruption. They know that change is desperately needed. Word spreads quickly, and by that afternoon, the small gathering transforms into a full-blown protest. Riot police break up crowds with clubs and tear gas. Many are arrested. The government has seemingly won the battle.
It's unbearable. We are sick of his bullshit. We want him to get lost. Damn, to get lost. And the political prisoners in this building behind you to be freed. They are being tortured in the cells. And why? Just because they expressed themselves frankly.
Protests roar throughout all parts of the country for the next 2 weeks. People on the ground are contributing, and many spread awareness online. The regime's once airtight control of the media begins to crack as independent journalists flood the internet, risking everything to speak out against Ben Ali. Of course, the Tunisian government responds by enforcing a curfew and deploying soldiers to protest locations. They also ban websites. Although it doesn't stop there, the regime launches a massive phishing campaign, hacking journalists and anyone connected to them. It feels like a losing battle for the Tunisian people, but in the shadows, Fortune's Anonymous watches, ready to strike. Like any other mega-rich elite, President Ben Ali enjoys the more luxurious things in life. He eats the finest foods and drinks extravagant champagne, all from the private comfort of one of his many palaces. Yet beneath the surface, he is deeply worried about what the near future holds in store for him. Meanwhile, Mohamed Bouazizi fights for his life in the hospital. He dies only 4 days later.
In one of the most foretelling moments at the peak of the Tunisian uprising, police delivered the body to the family for burial under tight security, afraid news of his death would only fuel the uprising even more.
Not a single person hated him. He did not have a single fault or bad behavior. He had ambitions that he never achieved. He wanted to get married and have some money to take care of his mother and family.
Outside his family home stands the produce cart from which Mohammed tried to earn a dignified living. And kilometers away, his family, friends, and strangers now come to visit the man whose death, they pray, has given birth to a nation's freedom.
The public could not allow his death to fade away. They transform him into a symbol, a martyr for their struggle, sparking some of the largest protests the world would ever see. The movement grows to such an incredible size that even the rich are starting to jump ship, abandoning President Ben Ali. Lawyers, union members, students, everyday citizens, they all stand together against blatant tyranny. Scared, the Tunisian government blocks the internet to keep its citizens from communicating with the outside world. However, Fortune's Anonymous watches as everything unfolds. They understand the significance of what is happening and can't believe the media is ignoring it, so they reach out to known Tunisian activists to share their videos with the world. Anonymous dubs it Operation Tunisia. The goal is to provide protesters with much needed support over the internet, so they release a declaration of war.
The Tunisian government wants to control the present with falsehoods and misinformation. They want to keep the truth hidden from its citizens. We will not remain silent while this happens. Anonymous has heard the claim for freedom of the Tunisian people. Anonymous is willing to help the Tunisian people in this fight against oppression. This is a warning to the Tunisian government. Free the net, and attacks will cease. Keep on that attitude, and this will just be the beginning.
Anonymous distributes guides to Tunisian activists, teaching them how to use their tools to access the internet safely. They even help create a centralized website for information about the government's corruption. But Ben Ali refuses to fold and retaliates by tightening restrictions on his own people. Anonymous quickly begins phase 2, their hack to take down as many government websites as possible. They target everything: the foreign relations site, the hub for industry, the president's personal palace webpage, the government's main portal, and literally any other website where they find vulnerabilities. It's absolute chaos for the Tunisian government, and it's not long before the mainstream media gets involved.
There's what's been called a cyber war going on now between the Tunisian government and activists. Tunisia has always censored news websites and sites such as Facebook. A lot of Tunisian writers told us they would routinely lose access to their Facebook and Gmail accounts and get their passwords stolen, and if they ever got them back, they would find almost all their information deleted.
Anonymous then takes down the entire Tunisian stock exchange, making prices plummet and panicking investors. They even order unpaid pizzas to Tunisian embassies all around the globe. But even though Anonymous is doing real damage online, the battle on the ground is much more serious. Protesters are mass arrested, and some are even losing their lives. Yet, the people refuse to back down, pushing forward until they finally reach the capital city of Tunis. Thousands of people meet up in the city center, in front of the Interior Ministry, the place that for years was used as a symbol of fear. But as a state of emergency is declared, soldiers fight back with rubber bullets and tear gas. Behind the scenes, Ben Ali is getting desperate. Some of his family have already fled the country. Later that night, he is seen being escorted to the Awana military airport. He boards the plane and leaves while the army takes over, clears the streets, and enacts a strict curfew. He lands in Saudi Arabia. With his family safe, he plans to return to Tunisia in the morning. However, the pilot disobeys and leaves without him at nightfall. Unable to return, Ben Ali gives up and decides to spend the rest of his days in hiding. The protesters have won.
When his departure was announced, the Tunisian protesters were overjoyed. It marked the start of a new era for the country after the 23-year reign of Ben Ali.
Ben Ali would eventually die in exile, serving no time in prison, even after many international attempts to bring him to justice. But our story is far from over. The movement's massive online presence ignites something bigger, spreading across countries and becoming what the world would later call the Arab Spring. And of course, Fortune's Anonymous was there along the way, ready to help. January 25, 2011, Cairo, Egypt. Protests roar louder than they ever have before. After dealing with years of human rights violations and suppression, the people finally reached a breaking point with President Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. By abusing laws, he gained absolute power, weaponizing the police to do his bidding. His administration has left Egyptians poor, jobless, and above all, angry. a planned Facebook event leads tens of thousands to the streets, where peaceful activists make their way to the city's center.
We're tired. Stop inflation. We're suffering. We love Egypt and we defend Egypt, but we've had enough.
Police barriers block their path, but the sheer number of people is overwhelming, and they walk right through. As they approach the center, the police become more aggressive. They use water cannons, tear gas, and even live ammunition. It's clear that the government isn't afraid to use lethal force, and is prepared to end the lives of many. But the protesters fight back. They see all the work that Anonymous has already done for Tunisia, so they call out for support. Anonymous was already enraged by the videos they've seen, and they knew they had to do something to help, so they officially launch Operation Egypt, showing the Egyptian people that they aren't alone in the fight against the dictator Mubarak.
To the Egyptian people, we stand together and united against this oppression.
Anonymous begins by DDoSing several government websites. They take down the Egyptian presidency, cabinet, maritime transport, and parliament sites, along with many others. At this point in time, much of Egypt's cyber infrastructure is gone, and protests are getting larger by the day. The Egyptian government responds by shutting down all internet access across the country, hoping that would stop the massive social media campaign and put an end to Anonymous's involvement. They also ban any form of activism, enacting heavy restrictions and a 6 p.m. curfew. The Egyptian people are furious, but know the government must be getting desperate if it's taking such drastic measures. As such, hundreds of thousands of people throughout the nation defy the curfew and take to the streets.
You can see more tear gas being fired at the protesters, and more of them are coming our way. Yeah, sorry, come on, it's just where more tear gas canisters are being fired direction of our building, actually towards the protesters, and you can see.
Take your time.
1 second, stay with us, come on.
Videos like this only enrage Anonymous, so they DDoS even more of the Egyptian government's websites. They also work with telecomics to establish dial-up lines, proxy servers, and mirror sites, allowing Egyptians to bypass the internet blackout. Soon after, Egyptians from all over the country uploaded their protest footage, captivating the entire world.
Protests have gone on all day long. It's now almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 2 hours after curfew has begun, but still the square is packed with people, and these protests will likely go well into the night.
Their demand, longtime ruler Hosni Mubarak has to go.
Egyptian embassies around the globe are flooded with people, all protesting Mubarak's rule.
We want Hosni Mubarak out! I really think that it's time for Hosni Mubarak to go, and I think the United States plays a vital role in the end of his rule, essentially.
I believe that the Egyptian people deserve an honest president and an honest government, and I'm very impressed, by their strength and by how long they've been demonstrating and protesting. I'm really impressed, and I want to support that.
Internal pressures heighten, and leaders across the globe, like President Obama, are compelled to address it.
The passion and the dignity that has been demonstrated by the people of Egypt has been an inspiration to people around the world. There will be difficult days ahead. Many questions about Egypt's future remain unanswered. But I am confident that the people of Egypt will find those answers.
With several countries on their side, Egyptians clash with riot police day and night in what would be one of the most deadly protests in history.
The people, they want the system to go down. The system was bound to fail. It was bound to fail. It was very unjust to many people. Huge amounts of people. These are a very small sample of who really needs the change, Never seen this before, ever. I'm proud.
The military eventually reaches Cairo, and the crowd erupts in cheer. The Egyptian army has always held the respect of the people, but now they face a defining choice. Will they support the dictatorship, or do they side with the people and take back the country? Soldiers in the square openly disobey orders to shoot at protesters, instead standing alongside them as they await the resignation of Hosni Mubarak. Feeling absolutely trapped, Mubarak finally makes an announcement.
President Hosni Mubarak has decided to step down as president of Egypt, and he has decided that the higher council of the armed forces will lead the nation.
The protests and hacking worked. Mubarak steps down, and the people of Egypt are finally free. The Egyptian military takes over for the time being, and mass celebrations are held in the streets.
Believe me, this moment of history in Egypt is not only being witnessed by everyone in this country on their television sets or in the streets of Cairo, it's being looked at around the entire Middle East, looking on and seeing that Egypt, 18 days of protest, and Egypt has removed, through people power, its own president. President Hosni Mubarak has stepped down because the people would not leave the square.
After a lengthy trial, Mubarak and his 2 sons were later sentenced to 3 years in prison, and they are fined around $18 million in reparations for what they had done. But the world was still watching, and the movement wasn't over just quite yet. News of the victories in Tunisia and Egypt tear across the entire region. For millions living under authoritarian rule, hope suddenly feels obtainable. People who spent their entire lives being silenced, beaten down, and ignored begin to believe that they too can reclaim their freedom. Massive protests erupt in Libya, Yemen, Syria, Bahrain, Jordan, Morocco, Kuwait, Lebanon, and countless other countries across North Africa and the Middle East. Entire nations rise up almost overnight, fueled by the same idea that had already changed the world twice. And of course, Anonymous is still ever present, launching what they call the Freedom Ops, to hack dictators and give the power back to the people. In Libya, they take over Muammar Gaddafi's digital defenses, knocking government websites offline and crippling parts of his cyber infrastructure. Some sites are defaced with bold, anti-Gaddafi messages that spread faster than the state propaganda machine can contain. In Bahrain, Anonymous infiltrates their systems, leaking sensitive government files that expose corruption, surveillance tactics, and abuses committed against protesters. In Syria, they go even further, uncovering the spyware tools that Bashar al-Assad's regime used to monitor citizens' emails, instant messages, and web traffic. They deface multiple government sites, including the Syrian Ministry of Defense homepage, where they leave a defiant message calling for freedom and solidarity.
To the Syrian people, the world is watching. Freedom is coming.
Anonymous runs dozens of smaller, lesser-known operations across the region, supporting protesters, exposing state secrets, and disrupting authoritarian regimes wherever they can. However, many of these countries don't fall as easily. Libya, Yemen, and Syria are thrust into long and brutal civil wars. Syria would experience the worst of this, with a darkness that claimed over 650,000 lives, in a struggle to overthrow Assad, becoming the deadliest conflict of the decade. Out of the 18 nations that participated in the Arab Spring, only the Palestinian Authority and Lebanon would emerge without casualties. For years after, huge parts of the Middle East and North Africa would be consumed by war, chaos, and the never-ending struggle for power. Although, to the people, freedom is everything, and as long as they continue to reach for it, Anonymous will always be there in the shadows, ready to help.